Well, today we'll be on location at Arbor Place Mall. I'll be talking with the mall general manager. Also, we're getting ready to introduce a new series on City TV, and I'll be talking with Kelly Hunter about that. Hope you'll stay tuned for this edition of On the Agenda. Welcome to this special edition of On the Agenda. This is City Manager Bill Osborne, and I'm in the conference room of the management of Arbor Place Mall. And today I'll talk to you a little bit about the history of Arbor Place Mall, and then I'll be talking with Bill Ball, the general manager of this large regional mall located here in the city of Douglasville. When I became city manager of Douglasville in January of 1991, the city had already been working for a couple of years on trying to have CBL associates bring them all to Douglasville. What the city was promoting at that time was a location on Douglas Boulevard, which actually didn't exist, but was simply a road that was under construction. At the west end of the property, or the area that we were talking about for Douglas Boulevard, there was a large mobile home park. That's now where Lowe's and a number of restaurants and other businesses are located. There was a residential subdivision at the intersection, near the intersection of Chapel Hill Road, and at that time Douglas Boulevard under construction. The city reservoir that had only recently ceased operation, and the property had been sold when the Water and Sewer Authority was created, and a new reservoir location had been activated. But for the most part, it was wooded area. A lot of wildlife, including deer in this area. In addition to the person who had bought the property, Larry Boggs, a gentleman now deceased, Neil Brown, was key in working with the city. And Mr. Brown actually had gone to a national meeting of shopping centers, and he approached CBL to talk about them coming to Douglasville. It was a long shot. But after I became city manager, and there were a lot of meetings that I was involved with, working with, of course, the mayor at that time and CBL officials, and it became more and more evident that indeed CBL did plan to come to Douglasville for a mall. They bought the residential community buy-in on the residential subdivision, tied up the property where the reservoir had been, and then there was a lot of community opposition, understandably so, concerned about traffic, commercial intrusion into the residential area, and other factors, even though it was part of what's known as the Arbor Station Plan Unit Development, and this area was basically shown to be non-residential. But eventually, the city of Douglasville did approve everything that needed to be approved. The State Department of Natural Resources was very key on the approval process because there's a stream that flows underneath Arbor Place Mall, and there had to be arrangements made so that this stream, which goes through West Pines Golf Course and then into what used to be the reservoir, of course, had been drained and was also part of the construction site, but that was worked out. The Atlanta Regional Commission gave its approval, saying that this development was in the best interest of the region. And we had a big ceremonial groundbreaking, October 21, 1998. Now, if you look closely at this picture, you'll see the fellow whose hat's about to come off. And that, of course, is your host now on the agenda. I was very pleased to have been asked, along with Mayor Charlie Camp, to joined CBL officials in the groundbreaking on that date. And construction was very quick, especially considering how many years it had taken us to reach that point, that they started working on the Dillard's end on the west, the Sears end on the east, and then working in the middle, building out, and it all connected. And frankly, the grand opening occurred less than a year after construction started, the grand opening being October 13th, 1999. That was an exciting day, and I remember it well. And even though in the months before the grand opening, when construction was underway, I had been on site several times with the construction manager, including the last few weeks before the opening occurred. That first day, I remember just walking up and down the mall, in the stores, and just thinking over and over, can this really have happened in Douglasville? But of course it had, and many of you may have had the same feeling. But also thought that day that, you know, this has changed Douglasville forever, and of course that was correct. Now, I've been in this conference room a number of times since then. A lot of discussion and work had to go on before Riches committed to coming to the mall a couple of years later, now of course under the Macy's banner. I remember discussions that we had after the big traffic jam at Christmas time a few years ago. A lot of improvements made on traffic flow, and still are making some others that are under construction at this time. And then from time to time we've had to deal working with our police department on some security issues, with our building inspectors on some issues as renovations that have occurred here in the mall. But basically I think Douglasville and Arbor Place Mall have had a great partnership. It's been a wonderful decade. And when I come back, I'm going to be visiting with the mall's general manager, Bill Ball. Hope you will stay with us for that.
The Arbor Day Foundation asks for your help in replanting our national forests. One tree at a time, we'll plant our future. Visit arborday.org.
Well, my first guest today on the agenda is Bill Ball, General Manager of Arbor Place Mall, and of course we're on location at Arbor Place Mall. Bill, welcome to On the Agenda.
Thanks, Bill. It's great to have you and City TV here today, and we welcome you on behalf of CBL and the Arbor Place Mall merchants. It's great to see you all and have you here.
Great. Well, you know, first part of today's show, I was able to use your conference room, and while I was waiting for that part of the show to start, I was reminiscing about all the times that I had met with representatives of CBL when we were working to get to the point that the decision was made to build the mall. And it's hard to realize it's been almost 11 years since our groundbreaking and 10 years since the grand opening of Arbor Place Mall. You know, I think this past decade has been great for Douglasville, Douglas County to have Arbor Place Mall, the CBL family here, and I think we've been a good home for CBL. So just tell us a little bit about being here in this community and how you feel a part of the community.
Well, I can say that it has been a real win-win situation for the city of Douglasville and CBL.
Right.
You know, we've had a great relationship with the city. It's been a great 10 years. I've been here for about 8.5 of those 10, but it's been a great time, Bill, and the city has been very cordial. We've certainly tried to be an important part to the community.
Right.
And so it's really been a fast number of years, but it's been a great number of years also.
Right. And of course, CBL Associates located in Chattanooga and Hamilton Place Mall, some of our viewers would be familiar with. But tell us a little bit about CBL and how it has grown over the past, say, 2 decades.
Well, it's been a great 30+ years for CBL. The company started in 1978, and then in 1993 they went public.
Right.
And today we're one of the largest REITs in the United States. So it's been a great 30+ years. I think currently today we either own, have interest in, or manage over 153 properties.
Right.
And 87 of those are enclosed malls and open air centers from coast to coast. So
right.
There's been a tremendous amount of growth, and I can tell you it's just CBL is a great company and has done well over the last 30 years.
Right. Well, I know when you mentioned CBL, those are not initials that came out of the air. CBL, Charles B. Lebowitz, who was the founder of the company. It was my pleasure to meet him on several occasions, including a couple of times here at the mall after you opened. What's the relationship, working relationship, between you as a mall manager here in Douglasville and the parent organization back in Chattanooga?
Well, you know, our corporate office, and there's just a tremendous amount of knowledge in our corporate office as it relates to the shopping center industry, but they really provide a great support, education-wise, and in every respect. They really are the support system. Most things are done here at the property level, and it really allows us as the management staff, which I got to say I have a tremendous management staff, but it allows us to take ownership and allows us to really become a part of what we're involved in. And they basically, even though there is some key input from them, they basically serve as a major support system to what we're about in our day-to-day process of running the mall.
Right. Well, as a longtime staff member of CBL, tell us a little bit about Bill Ball, where you're from, what you had done before you came here, and why you decided to take the challenge of coming to Douglasville to Arbor Place Mall.
Well, Bill, I started with CBL in 1978 when the company formed. I was in South Dakota at that time. I'm from South Dakota, and they were doing a project up there that I went to work for them, and it was a great experience because the project was just coming out of the ground. It was basically dirt, so I wore a lot of hats, which has served well over the years, being the project director and tenant coordinator and everything else. So I was up there for several years, got that center open. Then I was offered an opportunity to move south, which I was looking forward to a different climate during the winter. So we moved to Maryville, Tennessee, and at Foothills Mall. And that's where I was for probably, I think, 17 years. A short time in there, maybe 4 or 5 years of that I spent in the corporate office, but was very happy to go back to the property and the day-to-day activities. So from Maryville, one day they called me and said, would you even consider going anywhere else? And they ran through some options, and one of them was Arbor Place Mall in Douglasville. And I was kind of excited about that, didn't know much about it at the time, but I had a daughter and son-in-law that lived in Powder Springs at that time, so it seemed like the logical move. I think I was ready for a change, to be honest with you. And so I came and visited and really was impressed with the mall, was impressed with what I could find out about the city and the community, and with my daughter being in the area, it was an easy decision at that time.
Right. Well, we're glad you came. It's hard to realize it's been more than 8 years. But let's talk a minute about the importance of Arbor Place Mall in our community. The only thing you have to do is walk through the parking lot here, especially on the weekends, and see how many different counties are represented on the car tags. A lot of them from Alabama, that this truly is more than even a regional trade center, because you cross the state line and you have people who come here to the mall that while they're in Douglasville, they shop in other shopping centers here. They eat in our restaurants. When they get ready to go home, when they fill up their car or their truck with gasolines, maybe groceries also. So this is certainly an economic engine for Douglasville, I think. Give us just a few facts or figures that you may be able to recall that would illustrate the importance of the mall in the economy of our community.
Very well. We currently have on an annual basis, Bill, about 14 million shoppers that come through the mall. We draw from a nice area. We draw from either all or parts of 7 counties, not counting East Alabama, which we continue to do well from. So our drawing power into the community, and again, those people, you're right, they not only shop the mall when they come here, but they shop Douglasville. And so the total benefit, I think, is far beyond what the mall generates, even though we feel very fortunate with the business we do. But we have built a nice trade area. We continue to work at that. That's an ongoing process to expand our secondary market.
Right.
Because of the size of the facility we need to reach out quite a ways to really make it as successful as we want it and the city wants it. So we continue to work that, but we draw very, very consistently from about a 7-county area. as well as East Alabama.
Right. And although you've got the big area, I know you focus a lot on this community. You've served on the Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. For a number of years, we've had someone from your staff on our City of Douglasville Convention and Visitors Bureau Advisory Board, currently being Charlotte Wagner. Just comment on what you feel is the importance of the mall to the community and how you've gotten involved in that, and what do you see the benefits of that to us and to you?
Right. Well, we certainly feel it's important for us to be involved in the community, and we've tried to do that. I think you mentioned the Chamber of Commerce, and they've got me back on that board again.
All right.
And Charlotte is involved with the city and on some boards that she serves on, but we've been involved with the school systems. We've been involved in Partners in Education. We've been involved in the mentoring program. But one of the things we try to do, Bill, and hopefully we've been successful, is offering the mall as a location to promote certain events and certain things that take place in the community.
Right.
And we continue to try to do that. We're certainly involved with United Way and some other functions. We've done several telethons here. So, one, we feel it's vital that we are an important part of the community and that we play our part in being a strong supporter of the community. And I think that comes back to benefit. As the community does, so we go.
Right.
And that's where I think it's really been a win-win situation for the Douglasville community and CBL and Arbor Place.
Right.
Because of the fact that there's been that relationship, there's been that involvement, and I think it's served us both very well.
I think so. You know, as we conclude this part of this episode of On the Agenda, I want to touch on two topics. The first, a couple of years ago, I know Arbor Place Mall and the city was involved as you took a look at the concerns that some of your shoppers had in terms of their safety in the mall and in parking lots, especially on the weekend when you had a large number of unsupervised teenagers that sometimes grouping together as they maybe went from one end of the mall to the other. And I know you took, at that time, a unique step that I think has proven to be very beneficial. Tell us about that.
Well, you're right, Bill. About 2 years ago, after a tremendous amount of thought process, we started what we call a youth escort policy. And that is that on Friday and Saturday nights from 6 o'clock on, if you're under the age of 18, you have to be here at the mall with your parents or legal guardian. That came about for several reasons. One is for a period of time we experienced, needless to say, large numbers of young people. Certainly understandable, the mall is an attraction.
Right.
But large numbers on Friday and Saturday night, to the point where it was intimidating. It was affecting business, but I think more importantly, there was the potential for some things to take place that would have been very difficult to overcome. And so, again, after a lot of thought process, we did start that. It has been tremendously successful, I must say. We continue to this day, after 2 years, to get feedback from the community in a very positive manner, thanking us, because on occasion they will visit some other centers. Right. And they do experience the problems that we were kind of experiencing, and they come back out here and it just re-emphasizes how nice it is now on Friday and Saturday night to come to the mall, to go to the theater or whatever they have in mind, and to shop out here. So it's been very successful. I think the safety of our shopper is always something that we're concerned about. It's our first priority. And I must say that the police department, the Douglasville Police Department, has absolutely been excellent in every respect prior to the youth escort policy, and certainly as we continue with it, they have been just excellent. Joe and the rest of the police staff has, we couldn't say enough about how they've partnered with us in making this work. Right.
And I know Chief Wisnett and his staff are very interested, dedicated to making sure that we have conditions as safe as possible out in the parking lot. looking at all of our commercial areas. And in fact, on the weekends for the last couple of years, Mayor Thompson, members of the City Council, appropriated extra funds for us to have a couple of officers assigned here that have certainly worked well with mall security, I think, and all of that, I think, is beneficial to our community. The other area I want to talk about in just a minute, Bill, is that, of course, Douglasville, Douglas County has not escaped the economic downturn that we've had nationwide. We've had, of course, in our community, like elsewhere, families that have lost jobs, that have been furloughed, that have concerns as to whether or not they might lose jobs. And all of this, of course, has had an impact on their buying power. Tell us a little bit about how what has gone on in the last year or so has affected the mall.
Well, you know, there is no question. I don't know how you or how we could have possibly escaped what was going on. So certainly we have felt that. You look at the unemployment numbers for the state of Georgia, you look at even the Atlanta metropolitan area, and it becomes obvious there's going to be some effect.
Right.
And we certainly have had that. I will tell you that as I look around the country and talk to other mall managers and look at other facts, that we have weathered it probably as well as you could expect under the current conditions.
Right.
We have actually looked pretty good as I look at some comparisons. I think the good news to us is, as we've started in '09, is that we're starting to see some good indicators that things are improving. And we feel, certainly in our conversations and as we look at numbers and as we look at some other things, we feel as we move into the second half of '09 that we're going to see good changes with regard to the economy, to business. All that said, our shopper base, our customer base has stayed pretty good. We haven't really dropped in the number of visitors as much as we've dropped in how well we're getting them to spend here.
Right.
But again, times are tough, and that's to be expected.
Right. Well, I appreciate you being with me today on the agenda, and to our viewers, when I come back, I'll be talking with Kelly Hunter, our City Communications Director, the head of City TV, about a new program that we will be starting in May, and it will be taped here at Arbor Place Mall. Bill, I want to thank you for letting us do that program here in Arbor Place Mall. I think it's going to be good for City TV and for the mall. Always give my guests an opportunity for a final word, so if you'd like to give a final word to our viewers.
Thanks, Bill. Again, first of all, I'd like to say thank you to you and to City TV for allowing us to be a part of your show. I'd like to thank you and the City of Douglasville, the governing body of Douglasville, for the relationship that we have had, that CBL has had with the City of Douglasville and with the whole Douglas County community. I want to thank certainly the overall community for their support of Arbor Place Mall, and we can't say enough. Our staff works hard to provide the type of facility that they will enjoy coming to. I have a great staff that works hard, security, maintenance, and management staff, to provide the type of facility that's safe, fun, enjoyable, and hopefully that will continue to grow, and we'll look forward to a great 2009 and beyond. And again, thanks to you and the City of Douglasville.
Sounds great. Pleasure to be with you. To our viewers, stay tuned.
My name's Marsha Hampton, Community and Downtown Services Director. My City TV is downtown.
Kelly, I know you and your staff have been very busy recently, changing from producing a 3-hour block of time every 2 weeks to being on 24/7 on our new operation, Comcast Digital Channel 22. So just take a break, relax, and we're going to talk for a few minutes. but it's good to have you on the agenda.
Well, thank you for inviting me to be on here again today. I don't know if relax is in our vocabulary as the City TV team, but we'll definitely take that opportunity with you today.
Well, what we want to talk with Kelly about today is a few weeks ago she came to me and she said she had an idea for a new show and that this would be taped at Arbor Place Mall. And then she came back later to say that Bill Ball, the manager here, had approved us doing that show. So tell us about the show, when it will start, and what it will consist of.
All right, I'm very excited. It's actually a show that kind of had in the making or in the thoughts for the 2 years that it's taken us to get City TV up and running, but it's called City Connector. Okay. And the idea is we will film it here at Arbor Place Mall in front of a live audience. So we want to invite our audience to come out and be part of it. It's very community focused. We have the opportunity to give information, opportunity for the community themselves to be on TV. So I think it's going to be a great thing for the mall, as well as, like you had said in your conversation with Mr. Ball, for the city as well.
Right, well that's great, and I hope our viewers not only will be watching that program, but come to the mall and you can be a part of the audience, and who knows, you might find yourself on City TV.
Definitely.
Well, let's talk just a little bit more about the City Connector. I know we plan to distribute flyers to all the residents in the city later during April to give people more information about not only City Connector, but we've got a whole new schedule that we're planning to go to on City TV the 1st of May.
That is correct.
Tell us quickly about the new schedule.
Well, the new schedule is what we've done is taken a look at all of our programming that we produce as City TV on a very regular basis. We have a very full lineup. So we've taken that and we've taken a week's block, taken a look at it at a week, and we've kind of segued or stair-stepped our scheduling throughout the week so that hopefully when a viewer is turning and surfing through the channels, each night of the week they're going to find a different program on in that time slot, giving us a great exposure to the different programs that we produce on City TV. But with City Connector, we're looking at filming those the last Tuesday of every month. We're filming it in front of the live audience, switching it, very little post-production. It'll be up and running by Thursday evenings and very heavy through the Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday slots.
Okay, great. And just wanted to point out that our bulletin board, I know that we talked a lot about the bulletin board, and when you catch it at certain times of day, you can see the schedule for City TV day by day so that you can mark it down on your calendar. And we'll also try to get that out on a flyer for people so they can post it on their refrigerator or wherever to know when the programs are coming on. But on the bulletin board, I know when you started a few weeks ago, you and your staff had to scramble to get items, and now you've got a lot of people, organizations letting you know about events, and we would encourage people to get in touch with you if they have something that they feel like should be on our bulletin board. I know I've had our department directors to try to give you more about their special activities and ongoing programs. And I would say that you and your staff have done a great job on making that bulletin board a very important part of our lineup. Any closing comments from you for this episode of On the Agenda?
Well, I think the one thing that I want to key off on the City Connector, the other exciting part of pulling that together for us was looking for an anchor host. And I kind of churned the waters, or tested the waters, so to speak, with J93 and their morning show, Monk and Kelly from J93 are definitely going to kick off our first City Connector, which is May the 26th at 12 noon here at Arbor Place Mall. And we're looking at possibly moving forward with them anchoring that for us on a monthly basis.
That's great. And just as we close this edition of On the Agenda, I want to thank you for being with me. It's been great for the first away from the studio episode of this program to be here at Arbor Place Mall. And I would say to our viewers that who knows, you may be shopping in Arbor Place Mall at some point in the future, and you'll come across our City TV film crew here. And who knows, you even might be part of a program.
That's right.
This is Bill Osmond, City Manager, signing off. Until next time, On the Agenda.